Hello, my name is Hope from the platform of eSeniors.org. eSeniors is a non-for-profit organization that provides virtual companion service to seniors from age 60 and above. And I want to specially welcome you all to today's book reading section. We have been reading a book from Buchi Emechita titled Second Class Citizen. So we are going to be doing chapter 11 today. And chapter 11 is titled Population Control. Population Control. Listen as I read. The snow melted from the pavement, from the gardens, and from the roofs of the houses. Spring was in the air. Spring was in the air, and everything sprang up as if injected with new life by the gods. Even in the dark street, as dark as Wales Road in Kennash town, one could hear the birds sing. One Monday morning, when her family were still asleep, Ada got together her wash things to have her bath. There was no bathroom in the house in which they lived, so she paid visit to the public baths in Prince of Wales Road several times in the week. It was on one of these visits on a Monday that she saw this bird, grey, small, solitary, but contented in its solitude. Ada stood still on the other side of the road, watching this grey bird singing, hopping from one window ledge to another, happy in its lonely freedom. Ada was intrigued by creature. Fancy being moved this early in the morning by such a small thing as this grey bird, when less than a year before she had seen wider birds, all gaudy in their colors, all wide in their songs. She never took notice of birds then in the backyards of Lagos houses. Then she thought to herself, suppose there was never any winter, when every living thing seems to disappear from the face of the earth and birds would always be around. They would become an everyday thing, and she wouldn't have noticed and admired it and listened to its weary song. Was that not what we need in Africa? To have a long, long winter when there would be no sunshine, no birds, no wild flowers, and no warmth. That would make us a nation of introverts, maybe, and when eventually spring came, then we would be able to appreciate the songs of birds. What does this mean? Has nature been so merciful to us, robbing us of the ability to work ourselves up from our tropical slumber to know that a simple thing like the song of a grey bird on a wet Monday morning in spring can be inspiring? Was that why the early Europeans who came to Africa thought the black man was lazy, because of this overabundant environment which robbed him of the ability to think for himself? Well, Ada concluded to cheer herself up, that may be so, but that happened years and years ago, before the birth of her pa. She was different. Her children were going to be different. They were all going to be black. They were going to enjoy being black, be proud of being black, a black of a different breed. That's what they were going to be. Has she not now learned to listen to the songs of birds? Was that not one of the natural happenings that inspired her favorite poet, Wordsworth? She might never be a famous poet like Wordsworth because he was too great, but Ada was going to train herself to admire the songs of the bird, however riotous, to appreciate beauty of flowers, however extravagant, however extravagant their scent. She jolted herself till, reminding herself that she was the mother of 3 babies and that she was supposed to be rushing for her Monday morning bath. The woman who cleaned the baths greeted her like an old friend. They knew she was always the first customer on Monday mornings because Saturday were usually too busy and the bath too crowded. She preferred Mondays when most people had gone to work and the ladies working at the bath would not have to hurry her up. The only sang was that on Monday mornings she seldom got very hot water because the boiler or whatever heated the water had to be turned off over the weekend. It usually took a long time to heat up, but Ada did not mind the lukewarmness of the water because that was the price she was paying for a long, quiet bath. Her bath that Monday morning was particularly important because she was going to the family planning clinic. She had attended the week before and had been loaded with masses of literature. She had read about the jolly, the pill, the cap, and so many other things. She told Francis she was going, but Francis told her not to go because men knew how to control themselves better. The way it was done in the Bible. You hold the child and you don't give it to the woman. You pour it away. Ada considered this. It was not because she had stopped trusting her husband, but her husband could hurt her meaning without meaning to. For wasn't that the way he had been brought up? She knelt and prayed to God to forgive her for making other plans behind her husband's back. When it was time to take Boo Boo to the clinic to be weighed, she saw a motherly looking nurse and told her, "Please, could I have the pill? You see, I am not 21 yet, and if I had another baby, it would be my fault. And I originally came here to study and bring up the 2 babies I brought from home. Can you help me? I need the pill." The woman smiled and tickled Bobo on the cheek. They had a family planning clinic in the evening on Monday. She would get the literature for Ada to read and she could decide with her husband which would suit them best. Well, how was Ada to tell the woman that Francis said that the best way to control the population was to pour it on the floor? Ada could not bring herself to tell the nurse that. The last nail in the coffin was when the woman brought a form which Ada's husband was supposed to sign to tell them that he was all for it, that he wanted his wife equipped with birth control gear. There was going to be trouble over that, for Francis would never sign a thing like that, and he would raise hell if he realized that Ada got the literature without his permission. What was Ada going to do? Was it necessary to have a husband brought into an issue like that? Could not the woman be given the opportunity to exercise her own will? Whatever happened, she was not going to have any more children. She did not care which way she achieved this, but she was having no more children. 2 boys and a girl were enough for any mother-in-law. If her mother-in-law wanted another one, she could get her son another wife. Ada was not going to have any more. It was not going to be easy for her to forget the experience she had had recently having boo boo. That was a warning. She might not be so lucky next time. Francis announced that he had read 2 chapters scheduled for the day and that he was tired of reading and that he was going down to the nobles to watch their television. Ada encouraged to go. Ada encouraged him to go. She wanted to read the birth control literature in detail. Ada fished the now rumble leaflets out from under Bubu's coat where she had hidden them. She read them again and again. 3 facts struck. One was that the pill is the one you swallow just like aspirin. Secondly, the jelly is the one you are allowed to melt inside. The cap, which was the third thing, was the one you fitted in. Ada chuckled and was amused at it all. Francis making a special cap for your other end instead of for your head. Well, those Europeans would stop at nothing. She was not going to choose the cap though, as it would be too messy around with ones inside. No, she could go for the pill. That was less complicated. The jolly? No, Francis would notice and ask questions. But how was she to make Francis sign the form? The thought came to her that she could sign it for him, but that would be forgery. She imagined herself at a court and the magistrate sending her to jail for 7 years for forging her husband's signature. But at the end of it, she would be alive. But once alive, she might be allowed to look after her children. But if she did not forge the signature, it might mean another child, another traumatic birth, another mouth of fits, and she was still not getting anywhere with her studies. The price she would have to pay for being an obedient and loyal wife would be too much. She forged the signature. She saved and scraped from the housekeeping money to pay for the first lot of pills. The money had been saved, the form signed, and to add to her joy, she now had another library job waiting for her at the Chalk Farm Library. She was going to keep this job no matter what. She was not going to allow herself to get pregnant again. Never. But first, she had to have this Monday bath in case she had to strip herself to be examined or something. She had told Francis that Bubu was such a big baby, gaining weight every day, that the people at the clinic would like his photograph taken that Monday evening. It pained her having to resort to that very method she had always used when she was little, that horrible tendency to twist the facts. But what else was there for her to do? She prayed to God again and again to forgive her. She had to take Boo Boo with her because if she had not, Francis would have said, "I thought you told me that the people at the clinic were going to take his photo because he was such a beautiful baby." So she took Boo Boo with her. At the clinic, she was shown into a waiting room where there were other women waiting. 2 were underdressed with their stocking round their ankles, just as you are when you are expected and the doctor wants to examine you. They reminded Ada of the prenatal clinics. She was now used to that sort of thing, stripping herself naked to be examined. It did not bother her anymore. She asked herself, why should it worry me? I have only got what you have got. Why would I be ashamed of my body? It did not matter anymore. Three screens were set up in the middle of the square room. Women were to undress before the screen and then sit down and wait to be called one by one into the doctor's room to be equipped with birth control gear. Ada saw a young West Indian mother and purposefully went and sat down beside her. She wanted to be on home ground because she was fighting and because the young girl was the only woman there holding a baby. Ada could look after her baby when she went in to the equipped when she went in to be equipped, and she could look after others. That could be fair. With such noble thoughts in her mind, she greeted the West India girl with a friendly smile. The girl smiled back, showing a golden tooth wedged in between her ordinary teeth. They soon started to talk. She, the West Indian girl, was going to be trained as a nurse, so she needed some form of birth control during her training. Her husband did not mind. So months before, she was given the pill, but she cried to Ada, see what the pill had done to her. She pulled up her sleeves and showed Ada a very fine rash. The rash was all over her face and neck. Even her skinny wrist had not been spared. She was covered with the kind of rash that reminded Ada of the rash caused by pranking heat in Africa. Do they make you scratch? I mean, do you feel scratchy all the time? Yeah, man, that's the trouble now. I don't mind the appearance, but the itch all the time. Ada looked at her face and again, and so she did so the girl started to scratch the face of her skirt. She was trying to hide it from the other women, trying to hide the fact that her bottom was itching. God have mercy, thought Ada. Her bottom as well. Then she asked the girl, have you got the itch down there as well? The girl nodded. She had it all over her. Ada called to God to have mercy on her again. Excuse me. What was she going to do now? She was not going on the pills if she was going to end up looking like somebody with chickenpox or scratching like this girl as if she was covered with yawns. No, she was not going to have the pill, and she was not going home empty-handed with no birth control. She thought about the jelly and knew that it would only work when husband and wife are in agreement, for he would have to wait until it melted before coming on. So the jelly was out of the question for her. She could only go for the cap, that almighty cap which is specially made for one's inside. She had to think quickly. Francis might not know. The business was always done in the dark anyway. But suppose he felt it. Supposing he saw her fixing the cap in their one-room apartment with no bathroom and with the toilet as fitty as a rubbish dump. She could not fix the cap in the toilet, for what would happen if the cap fell? It would have collected enough germs to send her to her maker in no time, with cancer of the bottom. Allah was sure you could get cancer easily from under there. What was she going to do now? If only Francis could be reasonable. Whatever happened, she was going to risk it. A cap was better than nothing. It came to her turn to go and see the doctor, and the midwife was the midwife who fills you up with your own special size of cap. It was a messy job. They kept trying this and that and kept scolding her dad to relax, otherwise she could go home with the wrong cap that would not fit her properly, and that would mean another child. The fear of what Francis would say and what he would write to his mother and her relation loomed full of doom full of doom in her subconscious. Only she could only she could feel it. The other two females only she could feel it. The other two females who were now twinkling at her and growing impatient and telling her to relax her legs could not see the same picture that Ada was seeing. It was the picture of her mother-in-law when she heard that Ada went behind her husband's back to equip herself with something that would allow her to sleep around and not have any more children. She was sure they would interpret it that way, knowing the psychology of her people. The shame of it would kill her. Her children's name would be smeared as well. God, don't let Francis find out. In depression, the two women, the doctor and the midwife, gave her a size of cap that they thought should fit. If it did not fit, it was not their fault, because Ada did not help them at all, because she was feeling so guilty of what she was doing. First, she had forged her husband's signature. Now she had got a cap which she was sure was going to cause a row if he found out. But suppose he did not find out, and suppose it worked. That would mean no children, and she would keep her new job and finish her course in librarianship. With that happy thought, she put the new equipment in Bubu's spam and went home. But when she got home, she was faced with another problem. How was she to know what was going to happen on a particular night? Must she then wear the cap every night? That was the safest thing, but the cap was not very comfortable, and Ada knew that it wobbled, and she had to walk funnily to keep it in. And of course, Francis would know. Oh God, if only they had an extra room. Then Francis would not have to see and watch and to make irritating remarks about her every move. She ran down in their backyard toilet that had no electricity light and fitted herself with her new cap. She could hear Titi and Vicky having their usual fight, and soon Francis would start calling her to come and quitting her children. She fitted the cap in a hurry, almost going sick at the thought of it all. At that moment, she felt really sorry for doctors and nurses. The amount of mercy they had to do with people's inside. She dashed up, for Francis was already calling her and asking her what the hell it was she was doing down there in the toilet. Was she having another baby down there? Ada looked blank and said nothing. The fact that she was quiet made Francis suspicious. He then asked her what the matter was. Ada said that nothing was the matter. He looked at her again and asked, "Have you got a boil or something?" Ada turned round from where she was tucking the kids into bed and asked, "What boil?" And Francis, still looking intensely at her, replied, "Boil in the leg. You walk funny." Ada smiled, a whoopee, uncertain sort of smile, for her heart was beating so fast and so loudly. The noise was like a Nigerian housewife pounding yam in her odor. Her heart was going gim, 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 just like that. She was surprised and shocked to realize that Francis could not hear the guilty beating of that heart of hers. She thought everybody could hear it because it was so loud to her that it hurt in her chest, making it difficult to breathe. But she managed a smile, that sort of lying smile, and it worked wonders. Then she said, just to press home another point, you were calling me so loudly when I was down there in the backyard that I ran upstairs and I dumped my two on one of them and it hurt a bit. Francis ached his brow but said nothing. Soon it was midnight and the row which Ada had dread flared up. Francis got the whole truth out of her. So she a married woman, married in the name of God and again married in the name of Obushi, the goddess of Ibuza, came to London and became clever enough within a year to go behind his back and equip herself with a cap which he, Francis, was sure had been invented for harlots and single women. Did Ada not know the gravity of what she had done? It meant she could take other men behind his back, because how was he to know that she was not going to do just that if she could go and get the gear behind his back? Francis called all the other tenants to come and see and hear about the great issue, how the innocent Ada, who came to London only a year previously, had become so clever. Ada was happy when Panobu came because at least it made Francis stop hitting her. She was dizzy with pain and her head throbbed. Her mouth was bleeding, and once or twice during the proceeding, she felt tempted to run out and call the police, but she thought better of it. Where could she go after that? She had no friends and she had no relation in London. Francis made it clear that he was writing to his mother and father. Ada was not surprised at this, but she was frightened, for despite everything she still respected her mother-in-law. But her son Francis was severely the ties of friendship that existed between Ada and his family. She knew that after that, things were not going to be the same anymore. She cried then. She was lonely again. She was when Papa died and Ma married again, and she had to live in a relative's house. Her marriage with Francis, it was finished as soon as Francis called the nobles and the other tenants. She told herself that she could not live with such a man. Not everybody knew she was bent knocked about. Only a few weeks after she had come out of hospital. Everybody now knew that the man she was working for and supporting was not only a fool, but that he was too much of a fool to know he was acting foolishly. Panobu reminded Francis of Ada's health, and God blessed the old man. He sent all the inquisitive tenants away. There was nothing bad in Ada's getting birth control gear, Panobu said, but she should have told her husband. What was the point of Ada telling them that she had told her husband and he had said you could control children by pouring them on the floor? But it did not matter. She was almost 21, and among her people, a girl of 21 was no longer a girl but a woman. who could make decision. Whew. So this is where we are going to be ending the reading section for today. Thank you so much for listening, and bye.